Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bharat Connect panel discussion, where we are every month we are trying to keep up with some topic related to the contact centers, especially in India and around the globe. So even though our concentration is more on an Indian market, where we are trying to build some kind of a community where we can discuss the contact center related issues and what are the technology challenges, or how we could progress as a country, as an industry, what are the way forward. And we are trying to throw a light, as much as we can with whatever the experience that we got and whatever the help we are able to get through our community, from the panelists, who we have three of the panelists here. So welcome to the discussion. And today the discussion is going to be really, really interesting. And because the last 1.5 years, not to mention, it's been tough on almost every one of us. So all industries across, all countries across, and every one of us impacted in one way or other. So as a contact center, so what really happened to us, or what happened to the clients who are using a contact centers, and how what is the way out of this, so what are the challenges that they are facing. So if you look into all these different perspectives, so the solution are so the way out of the challenges that what is being going on around us is coming down to how we can survive this pandemic, or what this pandemic pushed us to with a situation where we could be on a standstill for almost a year and a half. So when the pandemic started last year beginning, and when the employees are forced to work from home and the public transport are shut, and not allow us to meet in person, so any company who are doing a business, having a customers, needs some kind of a customer service, and customers need a way to talk to companies and interact. So knowingly or unknowingly, the contact centers are behind this novel work, where we are not visible to the outside world, but we are so integral part of most of the businesses that probably many of us not even realize it. So the agents are sitting at home, and they are supposed to answer the call, and they don't have a good internet connection, or they don't even have a good laptop, or how are they going to be able to answer a question, or being able to access their company information to be able to answer the questions that are coming from their customers, right? So these are the challenges which hit hard on a lot of companies last year. And how did they survive? So that's what we are exactly going to be discussing today. So the one way out of the challenges, how to handle the challenges, was to enable the agents sitting at home being able to access the company information, and also being able to answer the customer's call, right? So that was made possible by cloud-based contact center solutions. So, but then there were a lot of challenges and a lot of information about the cloud-based contact centers. Is it safe? Is it secure? Am I losing control of my data? Or how can it really help? There are a lot of questions, right? So we have three panelists here to help us break down this myths about what is there or what is not there, what is true, what is not true, and most importantly, the interesting is what worked for them, because we are so these are the the panelists who have not only talk from the technology perspective. They're going to share some of their experiences, because they have implemented it, and they have moved to cloud, or they have helped other companies also to move cloud, and they have seen it successfully going live and being able to accomplish what it is intended to do. So without any further ado, so let me introduce you to the panelists. So we have Mr. Dipu, who's spearheading, leveraging the startup fintech industries and being there in the industry for a really, really long time. So being a president and head of operations of Bajaj Allianz. So he has faced a lot of challenges, unique challenges, and he has a lot of stories to share with us based on his experience, and not only with the Bajaj Allianz, even the previous experiences. So it's amazing to have Mr. Dipu with us today. So I would like to thank Mr. Dipu one more time for being part of this panel and taking your time to help us understand this topic. Sir. Thank you so much, and welcome.
Thank you so much.
And welcome to our panel. So our next panelist is Smitesh Shah. So he is coming from Ambit Finvest, as a head of technology and transformation. So the title itself says so. What he is exactly is doing and working on. So. Just before this, the discussion, a few minutes back, he was explaining how what kind of a transformation that their company went through and how quickly they were able to adopt a cloud-based solution and how it helped and what the way forward. So it is going to be really, really good insights that we are going to learn from Mr. Smitesh. So we would like to welcome Smitesh to the panel discussion today, and thank you so much for being part of the panel. And
thanks a lot. It's my pleasure. It's always good to share ideas and understand from fellow colleagues how things are moving. It's a small world. Digital is the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much. And last but not least, so we have Badari Prasad, Mr. Badari. So he's been working on this technology for more than 30 years and ITES industry. So so he's going to come up with a different perspective of this same problem and how they are approaching it, and contact centers in a way that contact centers is one big umbrella, and within that there are a lot of different ways of doing the business, how companies are approaching. So ITES is one of the biggest chunk of it, and so Mr. Badri would be able to help us break some of this information for us, and what are the challenges within the ITES industry. And he was mentioning a couple of points, so I would like all of you to hear from him and see how that is going to help any one of you or feel free to ask any questions, and we are going to have a 10 or 15 minutes at the end for all of your questions. Either you could talk to us or you could send us a chat. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Badri to our panel discussion. Mr. Badri, thank you so much for being with us today and helping us analyze this topic, one of the most wanted topic, I would say, at this point of our. So,
hello all. It's good to get connected. I'm glad that we have a forum now to discuss our pain points or share the ideas. We can discuss further on any of the specific points, or we can take up from the queue whatever is given by Uthaman.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is to highlight few of the pointers that we collected based on our industry interaction. So just to cover, we are able to address most of the challenges that what they are interested in, getting to know from the experts. So that's all it is. So it's not like a question and answers. It is like a talk, just a pointers. That's all. So it is a free form. So few pointers I would like to start with each one of you, and then we will go into more than one panelist also can start giving your thoughts. So first I would like to start with Mr. Dipu. So, sir, when you say a contact center, right, there is a varied understanding of cloud contact center, what it means, right? So there is a disconnect there, like, we know contact center. What is a contact center on a cloud? So we would like to, help our audience to understand, to start with what it is, and especially about the security of their data, reliability of the infrastructure, whatever the benefit, you could you please throw some light on this one for our audience?
Yeah, thanks, Uthaman. I think it's a good question to start off with. I think it's always good to get the basics right before we discuss various dimensions of a topic.
Yeah.
See, a cloud contact center, let me try and explain it in as simple a fashion as I can. Basically, when you look at standard contact centers, you're talking about servers, you're talking about dialers, you're talking about, the typical infrastructure, right? We all have seen contact centers. Now, when you're talking about a cloud contact center, you're not talking about any of these being there, right? You have everything on the cloud, and then you have the call center executive, who's maybe able to access, either using a laptop or even an app through a mobile phone, right? So it looks completely different, right? You move from the standard, physical infrastructure, right, to this cloud-based, environment, and it's hosted on an internet server, right, and through which all inbound and outbound, customer communications are handled. And because of this, you can have access from anywhere, right, whether it's through voice, email, social media, the web, right, so on and so forth. Now, that's broadly what a cloud contact center is. Now, the other point that you asked, Uthaman, in terms of, security, and this, I'll basically go from our own experience, right? So there are two things, which help us. One is, you can do screen recording. So that ensures that, you are able to be as secure as possible. And the other is access, right? Either you can have, free access, or you can have, VPN-based access. So once you define access that way, and you have screen recording, and apart from, the standard cybersecurity protocols that you put in, you can definitely take care of security.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Dipu. So, Smitesh, I know you have recently moved to cloud. So, quickly, I just want to take your 2 cents on this one.
Sure. The way I put it is, in a simple layman term, it's a box on the internet where you have a seamless communication. Because of pandemic, there were a lot of call centers who were not able to support the customers. Whoever on the cloud on a day were able to support the customer. So it allows, basically, which is a central point of enterprise server, which is available on demand. It allows you to control the servers on the cloud. It allows you to control inbound, outbound contact center with the agents anywhere across the globe over a secure access. Like it could be a VPN access, or it could be different accesses. Second is, it also allows you to basically have the customers with multi-channel. Voice, email, social media, WhatsApp, global business. So I would sum it up in a very simple terms. Everything available on a click of a button, ready to go in a matter of one day, and basically able to service the customer effectively. Coming on the security aspects of it, the basic which would be there is, how do you give access control to the users? The data should be encrypted, whether it's at rest or in transit. Second would be resilient cloud services, data protection, application security, and access control, which are the critical factor in accessibility. So I would put that with everything on the cloud, a lot of security aspects comes, and these are standard protocols which are available on Amazon Web Clouds, or everything as software as a service. So I think even with a small company can start a call center in a day. If I give you one simple example, for us, for collection, we wanted to have a call center up and running. We found a partner, and within 2 days, we are able to have the call center up and running with a pilot being done. And it's pay per use, so you can scale up, scale down as required. We looked, the basic things we looked was basically on the security aspects of it, and the main thing we wanted was call recording, because for the call center we need call recording because of the regulatory guidelines which comes in. So that's how I would sum it up.
Yeah. Thanks, Vijay. So, Badri, you want to add a couple of your thoughts on this one, on the first explaining the cloud-based? Yes,
Uthaman. Cloud contact center, I just put it as extended arm of the enterprise implementation. We can implement the similar controls, so what we have on-prem, and then we can scale it up as required. The biggest advantage is we can add the components or the layers as required. Everything is based on the SaaS model, so it's easier. And also integration is the biggest tool what we can get. We can integrate with any enterprise technologies, even to the on-prem technology, or do the analytics is one of the greatest tool what we can use. So on the security, yes, I feel that if we continue to exercise the same controls, it is as secure as on-prem implementation. Basics has to be right, then everything is right.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, being a broad like a topic and being a foundation, like Dipu explained. So I wanted all three of your opinions. So you all came across really well. So I hope that explains our audience, like, what is a cloud data center, like, the definition wise. So let's go one level deeper now. So Smitesh, I want to start with you on this. So the most significant function of a contact center is to provide outstanding customer experience, right? So most customers get frustrated, ineffective automated messages and hold times, and when they seek a customer service, right? So that is one of the unavoidable things that they are dealing with, especially with the pandemic. And the cloud-based solutions are expected to address this challenge with analytics and business intelligence and artificial intelligence in some way in the mix. So how do you think, customer center, contact center, help improve the customer experience in this way?
So as the panels have rightly mentioned, integration of different channels becomes easy. So today I may have sent an email and I'm not getting the status of it through the email. So I'm calling the contact center to do. So what happens is, one, it gives an omni-channel experience, and with artificial intelligence and automated voice bots, today customer wants to do everything on their fingertips. So let's say while I'm driving home, I want to check what is the status of my loan query which I've given. I wanted statement of account which didn't come. So if I have a WhatsApp integration and a chatbot, the moment I just type a request at a wait of a signal after the authentication is done, I'm able to see. Tomorrow, if I call the contact center, I get an omni experience. So I would say that with cloud as a contact center, leveraging on voice and bots becomes very easy. At the back, we can also do a lot of analytics of the preference of the customers, what time of the call he is calling, what time he is presenting. With that analytics, I can also see that this customer is more interested in doing automated chats rather than doing a chat with the call center. Looking at all that preferences and putting all this artificial intelligence in place and understanding the patterns of the customer. Even when the customer is speaking to me, I can see the voice recognition, whether he's frustrated or whether he's happy. So putting all this together and bringing the technology behind it helps us to analyze the customer. And at the end of the day, we want to reduce cost. Every call center agent has an added cost. So as long as you are able to automate the standard services out of the learning of the experience of the call center, that would really help. And naturally, every customer doesn't want to get a call. I'll just give you one example. Right now, I was told to update. So I'll not name the one of the NBFCs who was told that they're paying the FD rates to us. They told just go and update the website with your account number. Still, I'm getting the calls because it's not integrated. I've updated 3 days back, but still the call center is calling because he has an offline database. I really understand. So if I had all this data real time, so I'm giving a live use case which I have seen. I'm literally getting frustrated during the middle of the day that I'm getting 6 calls. That's their call because they have been given a mandate. But if it is real-time analytics and the data was updated in real time, I wouldn't have got the call. So I would put it that way, that the customer experience enhances because he wants to do, or he or she wants to do at his own leisure, at his own time, whether the call center is open or whether the call center is shut. That's how I would put it.
Actually, when you said this, Smitesh, it's a very good example. Like, something came to my mind. Like, this just happened to me like a few hours back. Like midnight, I was trying to book a ticket to go to Chicago. So So I was trying to book a ticket in Chicago, United Airlines. What happened is I was doing it on a browser. So I thought it's easier to see all the seat arrangement, everything, and then do it in one go. I was in the middle of doing it. At the final step, it's supposed to show me everything and then get the confirmation. And there was a part where they owe me like about $3,000 or $4,000. During the pandemic, I usually travel back and forth India, so the whole bunch of my travel got canceled last year. So everything is sitting as a
Credit.
as a credit, right, in United account. So I was supposed to be able to select that amount instead of paying through credit card. So I'm trying to select, but then something happened. The screen, everything is all blurred. Like I cannot see what is what. Okay, then I said, okay, then let me go to they're asking one more question there to answer, what is the PIN number for the credit? They have given a credit certificate and every certificate has a PIN number. Enter the PIN number to use the certificate. How would I remember the PIN number? So let me open it on my mobile app. And then I go to my mobile and then it's nice surprise. There is so Uthaman, you have your pending reservation is here. Would you like to complete it? Before even I do anything on the mobile app, that's the option they are giving. I said, okay, let me see what it is, because my idea is to go into the app and see my PIN number, but then I go ahead and click on it and then it takes me to the screen where it shows me the certificate. I can select the credit certificate and then apply that and then finish the transaction there itself. So it's a completely two different channels, right? Doing an app and this. That's a nice surprise actually. This just happened a few hours back. So
Yeah,
what do you think?
I'll just give you one example. I had to pay NEFT urgently. If I go through the traditional web browser, it takes 1 hour for registration. But if you go through the mobile app, it does instant registration. But there is a negative. When going through a mobile app, there was a 1 lakh rupee restriction. When I went through the other part, I was able to transfer 2 lakhs. So it has its plus and minus, but it gives me an omni-channel experience. At the click of a button, I am able to do it. So I think, yes, that's how it really would say. And all this is really possible because of the cloud and the infrastructures which are available.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Smitesh. So the next let's jump into the next one. So this is about one of the major limiting factor for the legacy contact center, right? Software is inability to scale quickly. So you have a box, and then you need at some point of time, instead of 10 calls, you're handling 25 calls. I'm just giving an example. So the box can handle only maybe 10. You can scale up to 12 or 13, not 25. So that's one thing. And then for when you are upgrading your messaging system or add in-app video chat, or whatever the features that you are trying to do with the contact center. So how this scaling up or adding a new channel of on the cloud contact center is going to work. So this question, I would like to get feedback from both Dipu and Badari. So
Badari, you want to go first?
Go ahead, Dipu. Go ahead.
Yeah. So see, in terms of scaling, one is basically clearly lay out a clear business case first, because you need to ensure that all stakeholders are on board. The other thing which is our own experience from the pandemic, while we all focus on shifting from normal contact centers to cloud contact centers and ensuring that we are there on the digital path, I think one aspect which I've always seen which has been underrated is communication. We just take it for granted, and I think what really helped us at that time was we embarked on a massive communication drive. We ensured that be it our partners, be it our distributors, be it our stakeholders, be it everyone was aware, because very often you will find that we just assume that because it is in our heads others are aware, right? But if you don't communicate, people will not be aware. So I think that's one. And the other aspect is what we also should understand is that whenever you do change management which comes into this, hand-holding is very important. So you need to be very clear about the stages. So we also focus on a lot of assisted automation as well as hand-holding help. And I think that's something which has really helped us scale up. Now the good thing, Uthaman, is now that See, history can be reset in terms of, pre-COVID and post-COVID, right? I mean, it was a point of inflection because this was something which was truly global. It affected every country and it affected every industry, right?
Yeah.
So if we do not, so the standard question, if not now, when, right? If we do not capitalize on this particular moment in time and ensure that that we don't, if we don't scale up now, then, it's going to be very difficult to do it later. So I think this is the time to, combine all forces, and then just highlight the benefits, embark on communication and just, take it, completely across the board. And the last angle before I close is what also happens in this is sometimes, we shouldn't become blind to customer feedback. Sometimes, you'll find small niggles, where customers, or, people along the line face hassle. So I think if we can fix those small niggles along the way, then you can move from that minimum viable product, to a top-notch experience. And then it ensures that you're here to stay.
Yeah. So very true. Yeah. Badri?
Yeah, I agree with Dipu. Few things in terms of scalability compared to on-prem is the speed. What we have with a cloud-based contact center, mainly because everyone wants to control the cost, starting from the stakeholders to the finance team and the CFO. Everybody would like to do it, and it's easier for them to do it if there is a capex, because for capex there are several hurdles or several reviews, whereas for opex, when the cost is built in, so to the operational cost, it becomes most likely opex and operations driven activity rather than financially controlled activity. So that I feel that that's the greatest advantage. And in terms of adding the channels or adding the technologies, it's done in the background, so you may not even feel the differences if change control mechanism, if it is exercised and tested properly. Yeah, it is usually there is no impact to the operations. And I feel that it is something good to have compared to the on-prem implementation.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with both of you. So one more thing, like, coming to my mind, what Deepu was saying. So this might be the time companies might take that bold decision and jump on board, because all industries, everyone is got impacted, right? And it is really not anyone of our fault. We are in the situation where we are now, and if you don't take that decision now, probably 6 months or 1 year down the road, it could be too late. And because because the economy and everything changes so quickly, right? And you don't know what is going to be the challenges that we are going to be facing after 6 months. It could be unprecedented demand of certain things, right? And you should be in a position to deliver. At that time, you may not have enough time to think through or put in a new process or whatever. Whereas now, earlier the better. So as you mentioned rightly, so this could be the right timing wise, so to get started on that.
Just one point to add here. While you are looking for a cloud technology, just look at 3 key parameters. One is keep customer at the centricity, because whatever you are doing for the customer, omni-channel experience. Second is, what is the gap in your existing technology which is really need you are trying to fulfill? Because if you are getting only just moving to the cloud, just don't do for the sake of doing it. And second, you should ensure that you have a good partner, like Dipu was saying, who can work with you at every step, because it's a big change management for whoever has a traditional data center. For us, we already moved to the cloud. We didn't have any data center, so we are at an advantage. So I think these 3 parameters are really critical before you embark and go with everybody's on the wave of cloud.
Yes. Good one. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So the next one, the pointer is going to be 39% of service organizations already have defined artificial intelligence strategy, right? What they want to do with artificial intelligence and everything. And 56% are investigating ways to use it in a meaningful way. Whether using a chatbot to collect fundamental data and handling simple inquiries, or using an AI for predictive modeling, what could be the customers seeking going forward. we see a major thrust towards AI, like one way or other. So how do you see this trend, and how do someone who has not started should look at the AI? So Smitesh, Dipu, you want to start first, and then we'll go.
Yeah, so the way I would put at it is customer wants to do at his convenience. Again, I will always put customer at the center, and everything will be woven around the customer. If he wants a disconvenience and you may not have agent 24/7, which is practical, then you should use a voice chatbot. There will be learnings over the chatbot, and you should also use a virtual agent, which is there. And only when there is a need where the chatbot is not able to answer, go to the real-time agent. So at the background, there will always be learning. If you can do text to speech, speech to text, and use natural language all together, and learn your chatbots to ensure that it's able to answer to the customers, then it would be more helpful rather than having a manual human agent call center. That should be at the last. So putting in a very simple terms, today, if I just go on a WhatsApp and say, what is my balance? As long as the authentication is done, that's done. So it becomes easier for doing it. And there are a lot of technologies and startups who are specialization in this place, who will really help to walk the talk with you and experiment and go live. So yes, I would say that's a reality, but you also need to look at what is your category of customers who are going to really use this before actually putting it. Because if your category of customers are such that they need a human touch, that would not help in even putting a chatbot which is there in place. So it should be a balance of what is your customer segment and how you do it.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Smitesh. Yeah, Dipu.
Yeah. So I think to add to what Smitesh said, we've already leveraged AI in a significant way. Especially during the year of the pandemic. I think a lot of servicing happens to our AI-driven bot. Now, the whole idea, when you're leveraging AI, is obviously to leverage its full potential. So there is no point in leveraging it, only for basic queries. You might as well go the whole 9 yards and use it for even complex transactions. Now the point, and taking a cue from what even Smitesh said, you see, when the pandemic started, everybody had to become digital overnight. So at that time, the whole focus, was on digitizing the physical. But what has happened in the last 16 months is, and what we need to realize is that while bots and while AI gives you efficiency and consistency, when do customers call you? They don't call you during their good times. They call you when they are in trouble, right? So they need empathy and they need a healing touch. So now what has happened in a very subtle manner, this whole accent has now shifted from digitizing the physical to humanizing the digital. So while AI is science, but customer centricity is an art. So how do you combine the two, to come out with human-centric AI? So one is, of course, we are increasingly leveraging conversational AI. And the other is, there's a combination of, man and machine, in some circumstances. So the human being offers empathy and the bot offers, full processing. It's a combination of this. So I guess, that's how the future will go forward. You leverage AI completely, but you will not miss out on the human touch.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thanks. Badri?
Just to add, yes, the feed, whatever we get from the contact center operations, certainly it can be further analyzed with AI tools for further improvement of the services and betterment of the services. Yeah, customer experience can be improved a lot because we can even see at what time more volume is there, what type of calls are coming in, or what kind of queries are there. So probably that's the best tool or the AI stack what we can use. We can not only use the service provider tools, we can also integrate with our customers tools. So that is what many customers choose. Yes, you give the basic feed, let me analyze for my operations, because we are service providers. So we can also work with the customers, and it's end-to-end seamless communication, seamless enablement.
Yeah.
I think one more point, what Dipu brought a very valid point of customer empathy. Whenever the advantage with the call center or a call is it's voice. So even you can do voice sentiments, which also gives you your, I would say, voice sentiment NPS analysis of how your customers are really happy with your service or not with your service. It's a long way to go. But even with voice sentiments of the keywords, you'll be able to do customer sentiments, which also gives you a NPS, Net Promoter Score, of how your customers are calling on the call center, because they will only call you when they are in need of something. So I would say that is also a way of future.
Yeah. So actually, you brought up a very good point. So I'm just going to share one link here. So this is a survey we just did from our TCN side, recently, and our survey got published into LA Times, recently. So I just want to share that link, because how important the human touch, like what you just said, right? Even if you have AI, even if you have the predictive modeling, all that is good, but then how important is that human touch, and what is that customer is looking for, right? Most importantly, he's calling us during his difficult time, right? Not when they are so happy, right? So that happens very, very rare. So what is the most important thing at that point of a time, to satisfy the customer? So probably I thought that survey could give some kind of idea, especially with the adults, 1,000+ adults in US. We did that survey recently, so I just thought it would be useful to share, so I just shared with all of you. So next pointer is when you move to cloud, right? So now let's say we have, as a participant, now we have convinced them why they should move to cloud, and then now they are in a place where they are making the decision. So now they want to understand what is it going to cost, right? So there are a lot of direct cost and indirect cost when you set up a typical contact center and all that. So when you move into the cloud, right, how do they all add up, and how do you compare that with the on-premises cost? Because on-premises, there is still like a concept that once you buy a box, you are done with your investment, and then all you need to do is to take some kind of a plan, and then like a telco, and you are you are off to a good start. But that's actually not true, right? But there are a lot of indirect costs involved, and there are a lot of other things you have to add on top of it to make it work, or give you the features like what Dipu explained. You needed a screen recording, or so you needed a voice recording, like Smitesh was explaining. So how would you do that, and where would you store that? And even if you store it, how do you access that, right? So there are a lot of hidden parts which are easy to overlook. So we would like to break this into a little bit more accessible for our audience, so they can understand what are the costs and how they should look at the cost when they move into cloud, and what how to compare that in a simple word. So Badari, you want to start on this one, and then we'll go back to Dipu and Smitesh on this.
Yes. The traditional deployment, it has its own limitation. Mainly, I'll say it's a single point of failure, because you want to scale up, or you want to add more availability, then we have to move towards additional components layers, and we are tied to the technology, a single technology and the service provider. Contracts are very complex in nature. Technologies what needs to be managed will be very high, and then especially if you have 24/5 or 24/7 operations, having a specialist always available to resolve the issues, that's the major problem. Whereas on the cloud, you have a tie-up, you have a visibility on what is happening, and you monitor, as well as you make the service provider accountable for the availability. That is what it's a good combination, and then we can have better availability. If the company wants higher scalability or a higher availability, they can even go for the geographically spread this one implementation. So that's in terms of availability, that is the best thing. And in terms of the scalability, we can add any layers or of the technology very fast. So I feel that that's the biggest game changer what we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So actually, I want to add one more point there. just imagine if you had taken a telco service, you bought a box on premises, and you got a telco box, and you have a service provider. Maybe you have two different service providers, right? But then imagine the kind of like a situation you are in. You are into a situation where you are providing a critical customer support to your customers, and then there is a fiber cut or there is some digging going on, like near your office location. It doesn't matter. You have two different service providers. Like the chances are your like lines are going to be cut from both service providers at that time, and there is not much they can do, right? And things like that can happen, and like even though like it could be rare, but it is not that rare based on our experiences. So on top of it, like on a cloud-based model, if you are looking at it, so we are leveraging like a platform where it is used by like not by us, like a lot of other companies, and like so you have a bigger commitment SLA from the telco side to fulfill. So they will also feel the pinch, and they will have all the reasons why they want to keep that line all the way like up and running, and they are going to be more answerable to like to them, a cloud-based solution provider, because they are doing a lot of the cloud-based service provider most probably is going to be a much bigger client for the telco perspective, right? Compared to like individual enterprises having an on-premises solution. So that's one example, like how you could help resolve your issues quickly. Yeah, thanks, Badri. Yeah, Dipu and Smitesh, you want to add your?
Yeah. So Uthaman, I think you raised a very valid point. In terms of what you said was a variant of small drops of water make a mighty ocean, right? When they come together, the collective power of scale, right, helps you. So I think that's one. The other is if you look at it from a standard perspective, from an enterprise perspective, I think there are three buckets in which you can do the calculations. I think one is, of course, when you go to the cloud, initially you obviously do a capex calculation, right, in terms of moving from on-prem to cloud. And then you figure out how the savings come in through OpEx benefits over a period of time, over millions of transactions, right? The classic way in which you do it. And clearly, if it's not beneficial, why would firms embark on those journeys? So I think that's point number one. Point number two is, I think, picking a cue from what Badri said, like, if in case you need to add, on-prem, then we need to add physical infrastructure, sometimes as a cost of business, right? Because by the time you add, you could lose out on, potential opportunities, right? Because typically what gets measured is, the act of commission. The act of omission doesn't get measured, right? So if that can get measured, right, clearly it tells you the opportunity. The third is, and that's where, the point that you made, that, a player, which has multiple entities can therefore, get better SLAs and uptime and so on and so forth. That then have soft benefits, in terms of your customer experience and NPS and so on and so forth. So I think if you put these three buckets together, I think, you'll be able to get a significant value proposition going.
Value, exactly. Yeah. Nicely put together. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So, Smitesh?
I'll just put it in this way. Is call center your core business? If that is not there, it's better to go with a lot of startups, experiment, see what is best fit for you, and then take a call, like we did. We were able to go up and run for one of the use cases in 3 to 7 days and do a POC and then decide the way we want to go. I'll put it in a very simple way. It is a backward calculation, as rightly mentioned by Dipu and Badari. Do I have the appetite to put capex? Then OpEx may be expensive. But if I am new to market and I don't have any legacy solution, then OpEx would be more way to go. Scale up and scale down. Let me give you a very practical example. Had people envisaged pandemic? No. Were the call centers who were on-prem able to scale? The answer was no. But were people on the cloud able to scale? Yes. Were security a concern? Yes. Were we able to put layers of security and first service the customer and then bring a layer of security? So putting three key aspects, what is the core of the company to do call center by itself? What is your use case? Time to market. So I would put it very clearly: time to market, cost, scalability, reliability, and business continuity. If you take all these parameters and you see that even if you have to spend a little bit more on a 5-year TCO versus a capex investment with the CFO and try to convince him, that makes a proper use case to go on a cloud. That's how I would summarize it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right, Smitesh. Actually, I want to add one point here. So during the earlier part of the pandemic last year, what happened? So one of the bigger banks in India, so they faced this challenge. So all their agents were home across India, and they on one fine day they didn't know how to approach this problem and how to enable them, because VPN was not an action, was not a good alternative for them to be able to connect all the agents from their home who really did not have a good internet connection or even a laptop for that matter, or so all they had was probably a mobile phone and things like that. We were able to help them in a way that we were able to what Smitesh was saying, it took probably not a 3 days or something like that, probably like a week to 10 days to analyze their situation, and then uh, step by step moving group by group onto a cloud base. So probably like a 10 to 15 days by end of that, so we were able to onboard almost 85 to 90% of their clients, or their agents, using their mobile phones to be able to connect, or so they were able to do everything they could do from office without sacrificing the security. How? Because they were able to monitor every single action, what is going on, so, and they were able to make sure what was their downtime, their productivity, and what exactly they were doing. And they were able to, most importantly, direct and dictate what is that agent is going to be able to access from home. So that takes care of a lot of worries away. If you could restrict what information they can access, right, then that takes away a lot of your concern about the security, perceived security, and other aspects. So that way, we are able to help one of the bigger banks in India. So I thought I would just throw that one out here. So because bank, you would think most secured and everything, but but they were also open up for this idea, because the situation was that how do we survive the situation what we are all put into. So even now they are happy, even when they are having option to go back to their old on premises, they don't even want to think about it, because they see the better value and the other advantages. And like Smitesh explained, so they could add extra layer of security to to convince themselves and to their stakeholders to stick to the same platform. So yeah, so we have examples all around, if we dig enough. So let's move to our last pointer here. So this will go to all three of you one more time. We discussed, and then about the cloud we defined, and then we defined what are the importance and how it is different, and how the pricing we should look at and everything. So the final point is the resistance about the data security coming again and again, especially in a market like India. And then they talk about the reliability, control, quality of service, and everything. Even though we have touched on all these things, here and there, how real is the threat to the protection of the data, and how do cloud providers ensure that nothing gets compromised? So can you take us through some examples, or share some of your experience, what you have faced? So I'm not going to pick any order, so all three of you can pitch in and share your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so very simple, as I rightly mentioned, is the management okay to take a leap and go on cloud, take software as a service and go as we grow, which is a new norm which is there. So one is, as a philosophy, are you open to go to a cloud environment? It's a larger question. And today I don't think any of the board members, this is a very common topic after pandemic in the board, so everybody is okay to go to that. As we rightly mentioned, in our company we moved our core application on the cloud during the pandemic. The basic security aspects you have to look at is encryption, data at rest, data in transit, the vulnerability assessment, how stable is the cloud, look at the vendor's capability, the partner's capability, if there is the cyber security aspects of it, the web access firewall, if I had to name a few, and ensure that the resilience of the cloud infrastructure is there. if you look at all these blocks and have your cybersecurity, every company has a CISO. You put him on the box, get the sign off, do a deep vendor evaluation before you are going ahead, and put all these tick boxes on the security parameters. I think, as Badri rightly mentioned before, whether it's on-prem or on cloud, the risks are the same, as long as you're able to take care of all this basic risk of accessibility, data control, data access, the VAPT resilience, I think, and the scalability factor. And also I would say disaster recovery, so that you have highly scalable systems which are available. If you put all these points together and get it signed and vetted before you start the project, I think you're good to go even when you are on a public cloud. That's how I would say.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Smitesh. Yeah.
I think Smitesh has covered the landscape in great detail. So no point repeating that. I think the only point I'll add there is what Elon Musk said recently. He said that I think a driverless car killed one person and there was a lot of hue and cry. He said what about cars with drivers, right? They kill lots of people. So I guess you just need to ensure that on both the dimensions, right, the basics are the same. So I think if you get them right, then there is no need to get unnecessarily worried about this particular angle. I think you have your bases covered, not just take the plunge.
Yeah.
According to me, yes, the risk framework, whatever is there for the organization and the measurements and the metrics, or if it's mapped or if it is even checked with the service provider, and then taking their assurance framework and their audit reports, that itself is a first level of defense what is required. And then based on that, again, you update the risk trackers or control mappings, and then try to improve upon that is the biggest benefit what we have in terms of adhering to the enterprise risk framework or even security framework.
Okay.
Yeah. One last point which pandemic has taught us is even the board members are now open to a cloud-based infrastructure. They're also knowledgeable. So if you see, I think board would have met the CTO more than the business heads in the last 2 years post March 2020. So I would say that even they are educated. So it becomes really easy to explain them and move in this direction. That's one added point I wanted.
Yeah.
So it's a top-down approach which would have to be taken for the openness. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Actually, that reminds me one good point here. Before last March, right, like before the pandemic, especially in India, right, if we have to go for a meeting, especially for a sales or like introducing our platform and everything, it was highly impossible to do that call over a Zoom or a Google Meet, right? So it was not that easy to do it, or especially with the clients, right? Because it was not perceived as a the way of meeting the client, or for whatever the reason is, right? But then if you think about it now, the adaptability of getting used to a video call is very much there, not only for any IT company, for almost all kinds of companies now are open for that idea. So so that tells us what kind of adoption, what kind of change of mindset we have all gone through, and what kind of changes that pandemic has enforced on every one of us. So so probably it might look a lot more challenging than actually it is. So Smitesh pointed out, so even the board members are aware of it and being open for it. So it's a matter of just a question of us opening up the topic and then presenting the case and making the move forward. That might be the more but that might be the only thing that is required to move into a cloud, rather than waiting for anything else, right? So that's exactly what I would like to say here towards the end of this one. So I think we have covered the pointers from what I wanted to cover based on our input from the audience. So let us open up the platform for the questions from the audiences. So audience is like, please feel free to ask questions. If you would like to ask any particular panelist, or like, or just a question in general to the panel, like, feel free, please.
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
My question is to Dipu, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, Kasturi. Please go ahead.
So my question is, so when you said about hand holding while moving to cloud, so what exactly is done, and can you elaborate it more?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a good question. I think, see what happens, we tend to underestimate, change management, right? We just think, that there is a pandemic and everybody out there is aware, and therefore, it just happens. It's not going to, work that way, right? I think to the point that, Smitesh made, right? For example, it starts at the board level, right? How do you, because they will be worried about, security, right? So it's about bringing in those use cases, talking about, how, globally, firms are moving, and, convincing them, that's a good deal for the company. Then you basically, come to your, stakeholders, because there will be a lot of queries, right? Whenever you move to the cloud, you will find that there'll be some sponsors, there'll be some detractors, and there'll be some people, who are sitting on the fence. Again, it's about taking them to the journey, telling them, what are you planning to do, and should something go wrong, right? What is your backup plan? So that, again, with your stakeholders. Now, then thirdly, when it comes to your team, right? Because you're talking about, the people at the ground level, the people closest to the customer or the process who are going to move, and your partners, right? It's about actually sitting with them, visualizing, and explaining to them, even through the use of videos, right? What is exactly going to happen? How will it look? Because what we have seen is sometimes, if you don't communicate or if you don't train, people are used to a certain way of working, right? They're very used to, even while they complain about it today, but, they'll be used to having those headsets and, desktops, and, they're used to, getting monitored and so on and so forth. Whereas this is work from anywhere. This is multimedia, and, this is about sometimes even using the app. So it's about actually sitting with them, and then taking them through it. And when then that happens, then you find, the consensus is far higher. And the other is, what I've seen in most projects is to set up a central command center, for the first 60 to 90 days. Because then, you can collect all the queries and, resolve them and then walk them through. Then you're able to institutionalize this as a way of life, going forward.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Yeah.
I got one question from LYNN at Selexi.
Okay.
The question is, does the cloud access has limits to the amount of people that can connect at the same time?
Yeah, so let me try and understand the question and answer the question.
Okay.
The way this is put across is that, does the cloud infrastructure allow me to do scale? The answer is yes. It needs the right size of sizing. There would be up and downs of learning, but once it's stable, will I be able to scale up the call center? If it was on-prem, the answer would be no. If I have to scale up, let's say only during the month end, I'm going to expect 1,000 calls. If I take again NBFC scenario, you understand that everybody was given a moratorium. Naturally, during the last 10 days of the month, the moratorium, when the deadline was happening, the calls had shoot up. If it was a traditional call center, it would have not been able to take care of that load. But with the cloud infrastructure and adding virtual seats from the call center, calling up anytime, anywhere, it was very easy to scale up. Yes, there would be challenges, but the learning is very fast and very easy to implement in a call center, because you have the infrastructure already available on the go. Just click of a button and setup would be done, rather than taking an on-premise additional servers. That's how I put it. Hope I am able to answer the question.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, I have a question. In fact, I have a couple of questions. One is specifically for Smitesh, right? So, Smitesh, you were talking about if you have the appetite for capex, right? OpEx would eventually become expensive, right? So, but in an in a legacy system, if you look at it, so what's the lifetime of a legacy system, right? So, and then you also have to add capex to integrations, your analytics, your business intelligence, your AI, and all of it as you go on integrating all of these things. While when it comes to a cloud provider, right? So most of these cloud providers come with predefined integrations, right? So considering that, would you still think that OPEX would be more expensive than CAPEX?
No. So let me answer this question in two ways. If I'm already running a legacy data call center, specifically, or let me give my example of a core lending application. We were on a private data center. We decided that we are scaling from 200 people to close to 600 people in next 1 year. Would I have been able to scale my infrastructure? No. I'm just giving a different example. We decided that yes, the private data center, whatever we had invested, we were at the end of the capex life cycle, which is typically a 3-year divide phenomena in India, where you do, as long as we were able to do a scale and a comparison of the OPEX versus the capex, and also the intangible benefits of not having to monitor. We gave it as a complete managed service to the service provider who was giving us the application. So for me, it was one person who was application and infra. Previously, if any issue used to happen, I have to catch application separately, infra separately, and one of my person will be liaising in between. So the question comes is, if you are a new age and you don't have any legacy of capex, then cloud is the best way to go, because it gives you inbuilt integrations, the native, the latest technologies which you already have. To put it, maybe looking at the TCO, it could be a little bit expensive, but as you scale up, your cost of operations over a period would be much lesser. And best thing is to do software as a service. Don't even look for your infrastructure. That's how I would put it. Hope I have answered the question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I have one more question, and that's for probably all the 4 of you 3 panelists as well as the moderator. Okay. So while I have been hearing that everybody is speaking about going the cloud route, right? So I just want to flip this and ask you this question. So when you look at cloud, what all can go wrong with cloud?
Okay, so there is one key disadvantage between cloud and the on-prem infrastructure, specifically on the call center. Your nature of call, or the voice quality of the call. If you don't have a good internet connectivity on the cloud, because as you know, everything is on the cloud unless you use a private VPN data network to connect. So I would say a good internet connectivity is one of the prerequisites. If you don't have a good internet connectivity, like I will tell you, just now my 5G internet of Jio went out, but parallelly I had put my mobile hotspot on. It was able to automatically connect. So this is one of the worst scenario where your internet connectivity has to be pretty strong at both ends, at the customer end and also at the other end where the agent is servicing the customer. Second is there a real business use case which is giving you ROI? Because anything, we are not here for charity business. We are looking at ROI. So as long as you are able to bring a return of investment of what you are doing on the cloud, if you take these 3, and as Dipu rightly mentioned, the change management. Don't underestimate the change management, because people are used to do in a traditional way, both your employees and your customers. So these 3 are very critical for any project to success.
Yeah.
Dipu, if you want to add anything. You are on mute, Dipu.
Yeah, you're on mute, Dipu.
Oh, sorry. I think I was mute and I was unmuted and I ended up muting myself. Sorry. So I completely echo what Smitesh is saying. I think clearly the need for connectivity, strong connectivity, because when we say work from anywhere and access from anywhere, it just puts that pressure. Whereas with physical infrastructure, you don't have that pressure. So I think that's one. And I think I completely agree with that point on win-win, which of course is at the start of the entire journey. Because if it's not a win-win, and you don't just latch onto the latest buzzword in town, so you just need to make sure that it adds real value. So I would think these 2 things are clearly there.
Yeah. Badri, you want to add any?
Yeah. So there should be a strong IAM practice. If that is not done properly, the access issues may come up. So we should exercise more controls on the identity and access management. I feel that that is the best thing to do. And if that is implemented, most of the access and data security or privacy related issues are taken care of.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I think it is more of a a lack of knowledge or like awareness of how what is a cloud is how to go about or use consume the cloud platform is the it seems to be the more challenge at this point of time rather than any issues or dangers associated with the cloud because if you don't know how to use certain thing whether it's a cloud or any other product there is going to be a risk of it, right? Because you have to be able to know how to use it the right way. So since it gives a lot of this flexibility and be able to scale up and down and things like that, so you need to have a right skill set and you need to have a right understanding of what we want to do, a plan of what you you are looking to accomplish and everything. And if we have all this one in place, I think it should be easy to move forward. So that should not be an issue. Okay. So I know we have one or two more questions from the audience. So Dipu has to sign off. So I just want to thank Dipu so much for your time and taking your precious time and to be with us. Thank you so much, sir, and we look forward to talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Uthaman, and thanks to Badri and Smitesh as well. Very good points, and thanks to the audience. A lot of questions. We'll have to spend some more time, but have a meeting coming up, and look forward to future interactions. Thank you all. Have a nice evening.
Yeah. Thanks, Dipu. Yeah. So I think Smitesh and Badri, we have one or two more questions, and then
that's fine. We can.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What is the next question?
I have a question, Uthaman.
Yeah.
So this is to all three of you. So we all wanted to be present in different channels. So omni-channel is the only way to go ahead. However, for omni-channel to be really successful, we need a lot of data points. In what channels, what needs to be done in terms of how do we interact with customers in these different channels, especially in the situations like this COVID-19 pandemic. We don't have any of these data points, right? So do you think being in this omni-channel in the time of pandemic, would it be favorable for us as a company, or how do you see this, or where do you how do you plan this kind of a situation in an omni-channel setup?
See, data gathering and data intelligence is a continuous process. How better you know your customer is by capturing his interactions with you. Unless you have interactions with the customer, you will not do learning. Now, there are three ways of putting it. Some data would be manual. Some data would go into an artificial intelligence or machine learning, which allows you to make your processes more robust, make it more automated, and basically learn the customer. See, every customer likes to have a personalized experience. As long as you are able to give him that personalized experience by capturing one or two data points or more. If I have to give a very simple scenario, I got a home loan from a public sector bank at 6%, 6.5%, and I get at a private sector bank at 6.6%. If the public sector bank TAT is 10 days, but if a private sector bank or NBFC TAT is 6 days, and I know that they will be able to give me a better customer service and faster disbursement, what will I choose? I will go there because I still have the option of going later to a public sector bank and taking that loan with a top up. So what decisions I have taken? For me, that is important. I need disbursal faster. I'm ready to pay a premium for a customer service. I would also give one last example, American Express. They are one of the best customer service across the globe. You take it and name it. You can look at their use case and you will get a seamless experience, whether a call center agent 1 or a call center agent 2 calls it. So yes, it's a continuous learning process for both the customers and you. And how, as soon as you adopt it, I think you will be able to take it forward. So there is never an ending to learning or taking customer data. That's how I would put it. Yeah. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Smitesh.
Yeah. Badri, you want to add any?
Yeah, just to add, if we monitor properly what is coming in and the type of the transactions what are hitting, then align our processes accordingly, then That's the best way to manage the cloud contact center and increase the customer experience. So use of correct technology stack, AI tools will help us. So it should not be a problem in managing the customer experience. It is much better than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you are going with this, the different channels, especially if you are planning to power with the AI, building a model. So the most important critical part is what kind of data we are feeding in to the model, right? So if you are able to capture a good set of like a data that is representing of your customers across the board and across like a lot of good points that is that are usually asked, then your model is going to be more sound, and your AI is going to be able to understand that better, and then being able to help with the future questions when they are on that coming on that particular topic. So a lot depends on what we feed in to the system, so one has to watch constantly on that aspect before you start relying on the your chart your artificial intelligence responding back to your customers based on what are the questions, because it can do only as good as what we have taught them. So you have to be paying some attention there in order to make sure we have a good experience, whether it is a American Express what Smitesh explained, probably they did that kind of homework already, so to give that kind of a seamless experience. So that's very critical. So that would be that. Yeah. Okay, I think so that brings us to the end of the session. So we already went over a few more minutes than our scheduled time. So I'd like to thank our panelists one more time, Smitesh and Badari. Thank you so much for both of you taking your time, your busy schedule, and spending valuable time with us and sharing your experience and answering our questions and everything. We look forward to be in touch with you soon, with some other topic, either individually or another panel, or help us with write some more articles in the community. So we would love to work with you in the future. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, audience, to be patient enough to.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks,
yeah,
Badari.
yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Have a good evening, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.